Understanding Supply Chain, Part 1. This week we're going to be talking about the physical aspects of the supply chain, how a product moves and things like that. And it's particularly useful if you have joined a new company or you've got a new role, really to help you come up to speed with how things operate fairly quickly. And then next week we'll talk a little bit more about the information systems and KPIs. So let's get on with it. So understanding your supply chain, I guess I ought to call this. And the reason I thought this might be useful is that in my day job running the consulting company Logistics Bureau, I'm forever visiting new clients and trying to come up to speed very quickly with how their operation is performing and what some of the potential issues might be and so on. And I thought if I can just give you a quick sort of thumbnail sketch of how I go through that process, it's really useful if you've just taken on a new role in a company, or maybe you've just joined a new company, you can use this sort of process to quickly come up to speed with how things are operating. So this week I'm going to talk about more the physical elements. And look, I'm going to make this really simplistic. So before you comment down below, Rob, that's really just logistics, not supply chain. I'm just trying to get over the principles here and keep it simple. And then next week we'll talk more about the sort of KPIs and things like that you'd want to have a look at. Okay, so if I'm trying to understand a new business's supply chain pretty quickly, first thing I do is I want to have a look at the physical processes. And where do I start? I'll generally get out to the warehouse and start at receipt, funnily enough. And what we're going to do is to walk through the processes. So it's a really good way to talk to people working in the operation as you're walking around, and things will come to mind as you're walking around. So imagine we're at the receipt dock. The sort of things that I'll be asking about is where do our products come from? Obviously they could be manufactured products, it could be coming from our own factories, suppliers or whatever. Where are they coming from? Is it domestic or overseas? In what form are they arriving? Are they coming in containerized? Are they coming in palletized? That kind of thing. So you start to get a sense of how stuff is arriving at the receipt docks. And then of course, is there any scheduling going on there? Are there any particular problems with receipting the product? And how are they getting unloaded? So, for example, a lot of companies might use third-party crews for destuffing, unloading, devanning, whatever term you want to use, unloading containers. Some might be doing it with their in-house staff. It depends, of course, if they're handballing off loose cartons or if it's palletized, that sort of thing. So, starting to understand the dynamics of the operation and potentially. What I'm trying to understand is, are there opportunities for improvement? But a key tip, if you're new in a business, don't start walking around giving solutions for how things could be better. That's a quick way to put people offside. If you see things that somehow look, like a bit strange, why do they do that? Let me give you a tip. People are generally not stupid in supply chain. And most of the time, there's a valid reason why something is done in a particular way. Not always, but most of the time. So keep your opinions to yourself initially until you understand a little bit more about the operation and why things are done in a certain way. But I'm looking for those sort of things that look a bit out of place. And I wonder why they double handle the stuff like that when they're receipting. Or, there's obviously a reason for this. Maybe there's an additional process required. So let's have a look then at how the product's being receipted into the warehouse. How's it being put away? How long does it sit on the receipt dock, or is it getting put into stock fairly quickly? Then we would want to be looking at the put away process. Is it going straight into picking locations? Is it going to bulk or reserve locations? How is the product being stored? Depending on the product, there could be hundreds of different ways of storing it and picking it. Is it logical for that type of product, the storage and picking media that are being used? And things like, is it being put away as full pallets? Are the pallets being broken down so that it can go straight into pick faces, things like that? I'm starting to think, is there a bit of double handling going on here? Is there stuff going into reserve and then getting broken down and coming into pick faces, and what proportion's going direct to pick faces? So, a few sort of probing questions can help to understand all of that. Then we come on to the picking process itself. Obviously, again, understanding you know, how many sort of full pallet picks are we doing, full case picks, each picks? Is the way that the picking is carried out logical? You know, are we using things like carton live storage or pick to light or, you know, voice picking technologies? Does it suit the operation? And then how are we actually planning that picking? Is it discrete order picks, you know, where people are going around the warehouse fulfilling a particular order, bringing that to the packing area, and then going back and doing the next order? Is it wave picking, batch picking? You know, is there a process going on whereby all of the orders for all of the picks for a particular item are done and then brought to a bench and then allocated to particular orders? You know, there's many different ways of doing that, and you kind of need to get your head around whether that's logical for the particular sort of order profiles. This is probably a good time then, if not before, to talk about the customers that the products are going out to, and you know, what's the service offer and how quickly do we need to actually get the products out? Are there any particular issues around there? Or do we get stockouts? Do we get problems with getting the orders out on time? You know, that could be symptomatic of an inventory management problem, an inventory accuracy problem. There could be carrier problems with them picking up on time, those sorts of things. And then just have a look at that physical process of how the packing and dispatch is being done and how the orders are being marshaled and so on. I always like to get out on delivery vehicles as well. So again, depending on what the operation is, whether they're your own vehicles or third-party vehicles, it's good to actually get out and do a few deliveries with the delivery drivers and see how that happens. There's nothing like, you know, getting out to the coalface, and you come across some interesting stuff there. You know, it could highlight issues or opportunities around how the deliveries are planned or how the loads are actually loaded into the vehicles. You know, issues at the customer end, you know, with booking time slots and all sorts of things. So getting out onto the dispatches, onto the deliveries is really good too. And then where possible, I kind of complete the loop and come back and have a chat to customer service. Customer service isn't obviously as manual as it used to be. A lot of it is very much systemized now. But I'd certainly want to talk to customer service staff and understand what the customer service performance is and what some of the customers' issues are. So there we go, look, a quick gallop through how I like to very quickly get my head around the sort of physical aspects of a logistics or supply chain operation. Obviously I haven't touched on the broader elements of supply chain like procurement and so on, but we'll talk about that in next week's video. So hopefully that'll give you an idea of how you can quickly come up to speed, you know, a couple of hour walk through a facility and really start to get an understanding of how things are happening. And we'll do systems and KPIs next week. So what would you add to that? What are some of the tips? Maybe you've recently taken over new roles, or you know, maybe you had a lot of experience and done lots of different roles, and you have a little bit of a process that you adopt when you take on a new role so that you can quickly come up to speed and understand what's going on. Do comment down below. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, please do that before you leave as well. As we hit our subscriber milestones, some really cool things happen, and we've either just hit a milestone or about to hit a milestone, depending on when this video goes out, and some cool things happen when we hit those milestones. So thanks for watching and see you next week. Bye for now.